Right, let's continue. I'm just going to come back up here. Again, this is demonstrating why the proceduralism is great in Houdini. Come back up to the top here. I don't want the radius set to 0.5. I want it set to 1. So I set that to 1. You can see that all kind of filters through. Fine. And this poly extrude here, I'm going to set this to -0.1. A bit more thickness there. Okay, you can see I've kind of come over to the right there. That's because we're going to be doing something different on this side. So I'm going to click on this to drop another node called a boolean. Boolean, I don't know how, not sure how you pronounce it. I say boolean. And a boolean is like a way of cutting the geometry. So you can see that the result there is nothing now because we need another input to cut our geometry. Is like, think of it like a cookie cutter kind of thing. So if I drop a box here, put that into this side, you can see something's happening now. If I grab my gizmo and make sure my box is selected there, I'm transforming the box. So if I move it up, you can see it's cutting, it's intersecting or subtracting, sorry, from our half circle. Okay, so let's give this box some values so that, you know, it's not just a kind of random size. Do it 6 by 6, sorry, 0.6 by 6 by 0.6. The height there doesn't matter. I don't know, it could be, as long as it goes through the sphere, that's fine. And then just leave it in the center. Okay. And to get rid of this kind of part going down like that, if we treat, so you can see we've got set A and set B, and this is A and B. So treat A as a surface, which, because it's not a solid object, B is a solid object, excuse me. Then we get a nice hole cut out the top, okay, and that gives us, you know, nice geometry. It's nice and clean. Be careful with this, you know, if this was kind of a little bit smaller, you can get kind of weird little primitives like that. So, you know, it can be can leave geometry a bit kind of messy. Okay, now I want to extrude this out. So I'm going to drop a poly extrude down here. Okay, and if you remember that expression that we did before, we could do the same thing here, because this is going to be two halves of our circle. We want them both to have the same thickness, and this is where I define the thickness, this value, and I may want to change that. So if I do the same thing we did before, right click, copy parameter, come here to the other side of our circle, and right click here, paste relative reference, it gives me the same thickness, right? And then I click output back, and that gives me a solid object. Great, okay, now let's do a poly bevel down here. Okay, and for this I'm going to make the a selection again. So I'm going to come up here, click on this. We need to go into edge selection mode, excuse me. And what I'm going to do is Shift A middle mouse button, and that will select my edge loop. Same again, Shift A middle mouse button, and then on the corners here, because I don't want to select the inside of the loop, just the outside. So I'm going to do Shift click and then Shift A click. Same thing here, Shift click, Shift A click. Okay, basically just holding Shift the whole time you're doing this. Shift click, Shift A click. Oops. Shift click, Shift A click, and if you make a mistake at any point, you can press Control and Z to go back. And then I want these two loops, so Shift A middle mouse button, and that one as well. I don't know why that didn't get selected. We've made a loop selection there by accident. So Control click, Control Shift middle mouse button. No, sorry. Control click, Control A middle mouse button. There we go. So I got rid of the whole loop, and then we need to come back here. So Shift click, Shift A click. There we go. And then let's do this last loop. So shift click and then shift A, click. There we go. That's given us all the loops we want, I believe. So hopefully that's still in the selection mode. If I press enter, there we go. So that's dropped those values into there. And then give that a bit of a distance. So let's do that to 0.02. And just 2 divisions again. We'll subdivide this later on. Great. There's poly extrude. Again. So I want to extrude this, what I just beveled, okay? All right, so that gives me some extra geometry there that I want to use. So I need the group from that bevel again, so I'm going to use this, I can't remember if it's the edge fillet polygons or point fillet polygons. We can try both. So we're creating these 2 groups again, which will be polygon groups. Come to this poly extrude, give it a value, and then try those 2 groups. Edge fillets. Sorry, that needs to go in reverse. So almost there, but you can see we've got a hole. Try the other one, points fillets. I think we can get rid of the first group. No, we need both. There we go. And I'm going to set this to a small value, 0.01. There we go. And again, here we want to grab these groups. And I'm going to bevel these groups to give me a nice curved edge here. Another poly bevel. And then find those groups. So I want those 2 seams, back seam and front seam. Again, I don't think we actually need that side group. Doesn't matter. Grab those 2 seams and then a small value here, 0.01, and just 2 divisions again. Okay, so that will give me a nice curve, especially when that's subdivided. We need to reverse this again. Doesn't really matter when you do it. I don't think it really matters. I don't think it would show up in the render even. But we'll do it anyway, just to be nice and keep it nice and clean. So we're going to be subdividing this. So if I drop a subdivide here, you can see it's kind of stretching in the corners there. So what we need to do is add some edge loops. So I'm going to drop a topo build, which is kind of a multi-tool. It does lots of different things, but we want to use it for, if you come up here, we've got different, only some nodes have different options up here, especially for modeling. And come up to this scissor, click on that, and then you can see we got this help information here, and it says, shift click to insert edge loops. Okay, so I'm going to do one each side. So if I press shift, you can see a kind of shows me what it's going to do. So I'm just going to drop an edge loop either side of each corner. So shift click and just get kind of close up there. Shift click there and there. One here, shift click there, another one there. One here and here. And hopefully it should look a bit nicer once it's subdivided then. Another one there. That's it. And then when we come to subdivide it, excuse me, losing my voice, it looks much nicer. Brilliant. Okay, so now that we've got that, we can bring the subdivide down. I'm going to select both of these, tab, and type merge. Oh, try that again. Select both of these and drag and connect both of them together. Now that's merging them together. Okay, but obviously that doesn't look so good yet. We need to transform this. So drop tab and then transform. So this basically gives me the same or a few more options than originally on the sphere here. You know, it can change the size and scale of it, but after the fact. So I want to rotate this around. So let's rotate it 180 degrees. There we go. So you can see that I'm visualizing the result, but working on this node. So I have this selected and I'm visualizing this. and I'd like to have a little bit of a gap there, so I'm just going to raise it up, raise it here in Y, minus 0.04. Just a tiny bit, so we have a bit of a gap there, and it should look better for our render. Okay, and there we go. So we can subdivide that a couple of times if we want. It's up to you. Yeah, I think I'll do it 2 times so we get nice and smooth, and then set this to smooth shaded so you can kind of inspect your geometry to make sure it looks nice. Don't see any weird problems with the normals or anything. It looks okay. Okay, go back to smooth white shaded, and we'll continue on with scattering these balls around in the next video.